one or two people here at the beginning, but this is my Carpo live cast for the 14th of January 2021. I didn't intend on making a live cast. Excuse me. Just took a bong hit and I have to recover. I just. Yes, there we go. Okay, so I know that there's no people here. I see Daniel. Hello, my friend. Not no people, but I mean, I didn't start this with any proper notification to people. I basically started this video out of the blue, so it might take a while for people to catch up and join. But I've noticed when people do live casts, they often will sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to wait for people to join," as if you can't keep doing things in the meantime. I do a live broadcast to express something I want to talk about, and then hopefully answer as many questions and comments as I can in the meantime. So welcome to anybody who's decided to join me this evening. Now, my original intention for this evening was to do a podcast for someone else, actually. Um, One of my subscribers recommended me to, one of my subscribers a couple months ago said they'd like to see me do this particular podcast called 16 questions or 13 questions, sorry. And so we set it for today and we got our wires crossed. So I prepared all day to interview for this podcast for someone else. And a little while ago, they're like, "We're ready when you are." I didn't realize that they had expected me to be there at 4. I was totally ready all day. I sent several emails saying, "Hey, is it Eastern time, Pacific time?" I don't know where the wires got crossed. Doesn't matter. The guys are really cool, and I'm hoping to reschedule. But it was fairly disappointing to plan all day to do a podcast with someone else and then have it fall through. And I decided I would do a live cast instead to talk with you all, since I was already in the mood and motivated to talk about anything. And I'd like to say before I continue, the 13 questions podcast is actually, it's really good. It's men. It's basically about being a man in the 21st century, and they ask a guy 13 questions, and then I think there's a handful more they ask if there's time. But yeah, I was well prepared for these questions, and there are questions like, what's the most influential book you've ever read? Things like um, who's been the most inspiring in your life, and what's the best advice you've ever got? And I won't have any spoilers here because, obviously, you can watch their podcast to get the answers to those questions. And I think the guys do a pretty good job. I think it was Adam and then Bill Strutt. Adam something and Bill Strutt. But anyhow, Bill is like the co-host, and he was interviewed and a while back, and I listened to their podcasts, and it was pretty interesting to hear other guys' viewpoints on what it means to be a human in the 21st century, let alone just being a man in the 21st century, which is my experience. That's all I know. And I know the title of this was, Stop Listening to Yourself. And it, sorry, I keep bumping the tripod. It goes along the lines of being a man in this day and age is a very confounding and complicated issue. Because I think, as I said that, I thought of the perfect movie to recommend to watch because I saw it last night on Hulu, and there was a guy in it. I can't remember what the name of it was. Let me think. When Hulu has a movie, it was like the main movie last night, and it was this guy and his girlfriend who find themselves in the beginning. The whole opening scene really sums it up. They're sitting there and they're talking and they're like, "Oh," and he makes a move and they're like, "Oh," and they start kissing a little bit, and then all of a sudden somebody's phone buzzes. She picks it up, looks at it, and he sits back, and they both look at their phones and they just start tweeting away and doing shit. And it was kind of the epitome of the world we're living in right now. This, constantly distracted by devices. it's very hard to, to not be distracted with all the shit that's on that little device we have, the one I'm looking at right now as I record. So the movie was basically about how they decide to disconnect and they go out and stay in a friend's cabin in the woods. And these aliens invade while they're gone. Their promise is to stay off the phone all week. And these little fur balls are the aliens. So if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm definitely not going to give it away. It's I think it's a really good movie. It has some great allegories in there, and I live through allegories. And the funny thing is, the podcast I was going to do tonight, it was Adam and Bill, and I think it was Adam who was saying that he experiences his life through allegories too, and that's how he explains himself. And I know when I say allegories, some people know exactly what I mean, and others don't, and that's what makes it hard to be a human. You want to express yourself, but you don't want to leave anybody out. Allegories are like almost like metaphors, and they're like archetypes, kind of. They're like little stories that explain or ideas that kind of define a certain part of human nature. So I tend to express myself through metaphor most of the time, and that means that I always associate a situation with something else in nature. It's there's so many of them, but I'm not going to go into that, I guess, or I could, but it's so funny because somebody pointed out on my previous live cast, they said, you say that a lot, that you don't want to go into that, and then you do. And as I said that, I realized you were right. And that's funny because the title of this particular cast of telling yourself don't listen to yourself means basically stop listening to your negative views of yourself, or making fun of yourself or insulting yourself for your errors in ways, or for not maybe living up to the potential and the full you that you want to be. We tend to put ourselves down, and then it becomes a vicious circle where we put ourselves down and down and down, and it continues. And it can be really nasty downward spiral, if you will. I'm gonna just say hello to everybody. Hello, Daniel. How you doing? Um, howdy, Sportcaster. Hello, Almighty Ohm. Sack of water. Hello, the American. Hello, Frank Zappa. Um, let's talk about the self. Just came off a course with advanced meditators. It's confusing to them. Yes, let's talk about the self. Let's do that, man. Um, I'm totally down. Still not rolled. I shall be rolling though, huh? Happy New Year to your family. Hello, Andre. How you doing, my friend? Long-time subscriber here there. We are all distracted. The drug is ego. It's funny. The title of this said I should show you the rest of the clip I used for the thumbnail on this. But ego, there's another half to that. Ego is a beneficial thing as well, but we'll get to that. Drugs are distracted by you. Xanax, a few lines of coke. Oh, Daniel, are you partying? Are you partying so hard that you can't type words? Daniel Riley has been a long time subscriber of mine, and I believe you're in the UK, right? I just want to say, be careful out there. Don't be taking everything. You know how I'm like the big brother that says, shame on you if you consume too much. Don't do it. I really believe in harm reduction. When I was back in the late 90s, when I discovered the internet and Arrowwid, I've donated to them twice. I have a couple T-shirts they send you if you like donate $50. And I just say that because it's the only place I've really ever donated to, because they were so helpful to so many people. I know for a fact that Arrowwood has saved lives because people know better. They know to test their drugs. They know to be careful. I'm very cautious. I'm kind of a purist. I mean, when I do a psychedelic, I don't combine it with other psychedelics usually. But that's another subject altogether, right? Andre says, Carpo, you writing a book? I am. And this brings me to the title of my video, which I've been beating myself up. I've been hard on myself by saying, you don't deserve to write a book, or you need to keep working on it, or find something worthy of writing. I wrote a book called The Mystery of Life. What Can We Know? And it's by Joshua Orr, and it's on Amazon Marketplace on the Kindle. I've had it out for several years. That I wrote it maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I'm almost embarrassed by it now. But I'm really not. Actually, I have to find it again. I lost my copy, so I'd have to download the book myself or find it. Only sold maybe a few, copies of it digitally, but the book was about basically letting go of the idea that there's any one particular religion that's going to suit you, that it's okay to find whatever works for you and just move forward. But it's been so long, I'm constantly changing, so I feel like the books aren't worthy. There's one thing I have been writing that I have at least 70 pages, well, okay, I probably exaggerate, maybe 50 long pages of writing about the pharmaceutical industry and all the drugs from the beginning up to now, from cocaine, from laudanum, which was a opiate-based substance, up to where we are now, and through the 50s, 60s, and all the different psychopharmaceuticals that were used on unwilling patients, test subjects, guinea pigs, and up till now that basically the whole nation is a guinea pig for psychoactive substances. And it's really scary when you start digging deep. When you look at the name brands and what they were doing and how they were changing these drugs, how pharma really has a huge grasp. That is the book that I'm writing, but I'm also doing it as a multi-part podcast. And as you all know, I don't charge for my videos. I don't charge. I have been putting ads on them lately because why not? Because basically YouTube said, we're going to start putting ads on videos regardless. So a lot of people said, you might as well just put ads on and get something out of it so they don't just make the money. I said, all right. It's like, what, a couple cents? I think I make like 2 cents per video. Seriously, maybe. Or like maybe a big one, maybe a few bucks. But the point being that it's not about the profit. God damn it. There was a point to this. Oh, pharmaceuticals. Yeah, writing that book. I'm also doing a podcast, which was the cool thing I liked about that 13 Questions podcast. They don't charge for it. They even allow the bonus content for free. Basically, they rely on donations through Patreon or otherwise. And I find that pretty novel in today's world. It's hard to survive. You don't make money on podcasts. But about once a week, I try to make a good, high-quality podcast on my voice recorder and really edit it down if I can, and try to share something that I find important and informational. And I think that it's just inherent within us to want to share these things, to want to share with one another, regardless of whether it makes any money or not. That's never the main point. But then there's the point of living too. So anyway, it's weird. It's a weird situation. But when it comes to writing a book, it's very unique because I'm writing a book, yes, but everybody writes a book. And I know, sorry, I've gone off on this for a few minutes, but writing a book is like my dream. Writing a good book and being successful and something that people want to hear, but also need to hear, that's the crux. That's the big problem. I want to write a book that is useful, not just some, hey, read this, it'll change your life. I don't believe in that bullshit. So a lot of the things that I have written, I've got like several pages in and decided this ain't working and moved on. I'm very critical, and I think I'm starting to learn this about myself, that if I combined all the writings I've done over the last 10 years, I have a huge book, hundreds of pages, but I just am afraid to share that. How do I put them all into a chapter book and turn blogs into useful books? So yeah, bro, I'm writing a book, but I might not finish it for many, many decades. I don't know what else to say. Taypan says dopamine and serotonin are the two most important things in life. Well, they are quite important, that's for sure. The identity of ego is our biggest barrier and greatest tool to liberation. I think we agree, says Ohm. Yeah. Geez, Daniel, come on, slow down, bro. Slow down. Um, Ohm says you should share in Discord. I need to write something, but super dyslexic. Shakes fist. Um, I do actually. Well, I don't know if you mean on my page. I'd share anything anybody wrote on Discord. I have a Discord server that I set up or account for myself and my podcast. And I really wanted to say this is really important to me, actually. This is something I've been wanting to do, and thank you for bringing this up. But if any of my subscribers have anything they want to share, please send it to my email and rewind it back to this point, and you can write this down. It's, my email is always in my description of my things. It's carpo420 at comcast.net. Carpo420 would have been my screen name for YouTube, but it was already taken for some reason. So I took Carpo719, and that was 11 years ago. But anyhow, you can write me if you want to share anything. There's two things I'm looking for. People who have stories that they want to share. It could be an audio recording or a video, and it could also just be something written down or typed. Anything like that you want to share. I would make a whole video to share your story if that's important to you, because that's something I want to expand into, and for my podcast. And I know this is important to a lot of people because a lot of people have told me their stories and and I've been like, I don't want to tell other people their stories. And number two is if you have any art, whether it be tie-dyed clothing or anything you've done during the COVID lockdown over the last year, anything you made during 2020 while you were isolated or locked down, you can email it to me at carpo420 at comcast.net. And I have a collection of about maybe 20 or 30 photos that subscribers have sent me, some from the same subscriber, but one of somebody's farm, some pants somebody made, some really cool pants where they were all drawn on, and another one with some hoverboard somebody made, little hoverboard, like Marty style from Back to the Future, out of plywood, and then a couple others. My intention this year was to make, after COVID has receded, which might be much later, I want to make a documentary about it. And during that documentary, I would like to have a whole section dedicated to people's art and the things they've come up with in their lives. And during times of stress, some amazing things come through. Some amazing discoveries are made, and some amazing art is created. And that's why I think it would be great to share. So, as I said, share your stories, share any of that with me, and I'll definitely do it. Definitely share it with others. So I'm going to go through the comments here, flip, see how many we have. Okay, not too many. I really try to keep up. I feel awkward because somebody said a while back, it was one of my friends, and he's like, "Oh, I like your live stream. My girlfriend says answering the questions is annoying, or reading the comments." And it was funny because I started feeling kind of awkward about that. Like, should I read the comments? But anyhow, it doesn't really matter. That's what I'm here for, right? I'll check out your podcast, Yeah, anybody who wants to email me might have to be patient. I try to answer them all within the day, and I am more of a shut-in than you might think, and I'm not as good on technology, and I kind of ignore it. I like, oh, I don't want to answer my emails. I haven't answered a phone call in like a year. When I do, I mean, maybe a couple times, only for family, and it's pretty rare. But then again, I'm glad I haven't, because it's pretty much all ads these days. DB says, no way you've watched this channel that long but don't know he smokes weed. Actually, DB, I think you might have been talking to someone else, but maybe you were talking to me. Daniel knows I smoke weed, of course. Daniel smoked he's known I've smoked weed from the beginning. I've always smoked bongs on camera. So Daniel Riley is definitely one of my oldest subscribers that I've had, and has probably, yeah, been with me pretty close to the beginning. People have asked. I use a metal bowl, old school, old school metal bowl with a mouthpiece from an old lamp, the old pipe piece, and that just goes right into a glass bowl. I find it tacky to smoke weed on camera. I had my secondary channel for a long time where I just grew weed and shared it. My grow operation. Where I'm sitting right now behind me had a whole shitload of, plants in the vegetative cycle, and then on the other side of the wall in the other room was a huge grow room with buds going. I had all these walls built, and at one time I had like a false wall and stuff in the past. But I ended up having a permit to grow weed for a long time. This year, I didn't share any of my plants, but the one biggest one ended up being like a pound and a half or something. I was just blown away. Here's the story for you, for stoners. I uh, I bought a quarter pound from a friend, and I didn't have the money to do that. Well, out here in the West Coast, I think it was like probably like I think it was like $450 or something like that. It wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap. Maybe it was 350, but you can get ounces of shitty weed for 75 here outdoor. So anyhow, I bought this quarter pound, and there were so many seeds in it. I was so disappointed. My wife and I were just constantly picking out seeds. Like, God damn it! The one time we buy some from somebody we know that's not at the store, there's loaded with seeds. And I was like, honey, I'm going to take some of these seeds, and I'm going to grow a plant, and I'm going to pay us back for the money we spent on this, right? So I took a few seeds, grew them, and I labeled the ones that were from that. One of them grew up, and I continued to grow it. Ended up just sticking it right in the ground, no prepared soil or anything. Just let it do its thing. Turned into like a 7 foot monster that was pruned, and just round, 7 to 8 feet wide, 7 feet tall, colas sticking up everywhere, like monster buds. And I have several videos, and I'd love to share them, but I just don't do that on YouTube anymore. But um, these have lasted me from October, November. Well, I started in September, October, November, December, now January. Almost 5 months, and I still have like 2 jars full, plus a whole big tub. And so it's amazing how long one plant can really last you. It's just unfortunate the government doesn't let everybody grow their own. It's really a travesty. It really is. China Cat. I love China Cat. I'm right with you, brother. Tay Pan says, do you ever watch Hassan Piker? No, I've never heard of him. Um, yeah, you're Daniel says he's rolling. Oh, you're rolling. You took Molly or something? I'm drunk and stuff. You gotta pace yourself, brother. Be careful. Tom says, as an herb enthusiast, do you ever smoke mugwort? It's supposed to help with lucid dreaming, give small visuals in high doses. No, I have not, actually. Let's see. If I'm not mistaken, I have a whole bag of mugwort. I think I was using it in a capsule blend. I used to make for my herb business several different capsule blends, some with mushroom blends, others with like ashwagandha, rhodiola extract, licorice extract, which I stopped using because licorice extract can be very dangerous. But I don't want to get into that whole herb situation because it's funny, I have this whole tub full of herbs down here that I've over the years experimented with and tried and whatnot. And it's so hard to even remember which ones do what, but I've tried to educate myself, and I have all these books back here on the shelf about different herbs and spices and psychoactive plants and whatnot. But mugwort is one I really haven't messed around with very much, so I can't say. Andre says, Daniel, are you American? No, he's not. He's from UK. Nottingham, he says. Nottingham, huh? Really hard to keep up with strain names these days, says the hey, the Real Folk Blues. What's up, my friend? Yes, it is. It was Bubblegum, Blueberry, Skunk, and Almighty. Well, did you guys have the fucking Band-Aid? That was something we got back in the early to mid 90s. It was called the Band-Aid. But that was just one we remember. There was also the DJ Short Blueberry, the original blueberry strain. And I'll never forget when somebody brought me a bag of that shit back in the day. He was from Northern Cali, or at least that's where it's known to be grown from. Um, there were very few strains back then, and they were all really high quality strains. And yes, they've overbred cannabis just like dogs. Like, there's pugs everywhere in the weed world. I love that metaphor. I'm going to definitely have to use that one now. Yeah, it's like the pugs of the weed world. Just not meant to be, all kinds of breathing problems and issues. And it's all just to get something unique and different. I've crossed several strains myself. I have seeds of weed that I've, like, the other strains that I grew this year, I actually bred them myself, and I was so proud because when I tried them, it was like, fuck, kicks my ass, and I created this. But I'm like, no, nature created this. I just harvested some pollen from a male and I moved it to a female. But even more often than that, I just allowed a hermaphrodite plant to self-fertilize. And then I harvested all these seeds from this plant. Here's what happened. For any weed growers out there, you'll want to know this. It's really weird. So I had this strain called Blue Blood, and it was the cross of blueberry and OG Kush, I believe. Um, but for some reason, this particular strain of it was 4 to 5% CBD and like 10% THC, which was perfect. I thought, oh, that'll be great for a starter CBD plant. I grew that for a while. It was a very heavy indica. I tried all kinds of experiments. I had all these pots that were identical, and I would add one thing to this, one thing to this. I've tried seaweed, I've tried everything. I mean, a vast history with growing cannabis that I should really share with people, but because a lot of people want to know. But anyhow, I took bee pollen, right? The stuff you buy just right from the store, the bee pollen from Fred Meyer's, and I had a bunch, and I thought, I'm going to try to see what this does. So I took, I don't remember how much, probably a few tablespoons, and just sprinkled it all around on the surface, and then stirred it into the soil, because I always grew in soil, or a medium that was like soil. And then I just watered like normal. Well, within a couple of weeks, that some bitch freaking grew like male flowers all over the buds. If you add bee pollen to your cannabis, it will grow male flowers. In my experience, at least that one did. It was crazy, and that's the only thing I can attribute it to. And I'm pretty sure I did a couple of them, and they all did that. And so, in the end, I was like, okay, what do I do? I isolated them with sheeting, and I let them finish out, and there were just hundreds of seeds. And I thought, they were nice, big, fat seeds too. And I thought, okay, this could go either way. Let's see what they do. A couple seasons later, I grew a couple, and they turned into these beautiful plants. They were perfect. They were a little stunted, but they still smelled like blueberry. Um, they weren't huge or big yielders, but they were females. All of them were females. And that's what I learned. Certain hermaphrodites will grow all female seeds, you just never know for sure. So that was the case with that. So if you want a bunch of female seeds, bee pollen on one of your plants. Hope that helps somebody. Um, Cannabis brand cookies. I'm going to read the rest. Dying Lights, did you hear about cannabis brand cookies? And how are they going to sell a 9 psychoactive mushroom caps? I'm not sure. Tapan says, I found an old package of L-Dopa stuck in an old boot we got from you. Did you really? Holy shit. I only sold L-Dopa for a very short period of time. It's a white powder that's basically the precursor for dopamine. It's legal. You can buy it anywhere, but I was very wary about taking it raw by itself. So I stopped selling that pretty quickly and just stuck with Mucuna pruriens, which can be 5% L-Dopa. But I had a brand that I was getting from my supplier that was 25% standardized L-Dopa, and that stuff gave me the craziest, wildest, most lucid, weird dreams ever. Dopamine is a very unique compound. We can definitely get into that one. Tom. Hey, Tom. Datura seed with mugwort and peyote to get a visual trip. Whoa, that's a lot. I'm very scared to combine things. I have a whole bag of Harmala seeds, and and then I've thought about taking it. I've had some wonderful mescaline a friend gave me years ago. And for those of you who are into these substances, I don't want to talk about drugs too much, but if you like discussing substance use or you have any questions about them, if you come to my Discord server, I have a particular, I guess, a thread there called Honest Drug Talks. And that's where I'm going to be helping people out who either need help talking about their substances or their issues, or just in general a discussion with um, about substances and how they can benefit us. Psychedelics are amazing. They're one of the most amazing tools out there, but I'm really cautious about what I combine them with. Wow. Shit, my pup says when I first started smoking, the best strain was Trainwreck. Oh my god, couldn't even stand it after smoking it. Wow. Okay, it's funny you say that. Right over here on this side, I grew weed, and that was years before I was growing weed on this side, right? That was back when it was actually, you know, kind of controversial still. But I had a bunch of my friend and I worked all day to get some weed from this guy. He was supposed to hook us up with a bunch of clones and some weed, right? We worked putting in this awning for this guy. We were in construction, right? We did like, several hours of work putting in all this lumber. In the end, the guy gives us each one fucking clone. One clone. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was too young and stupid. I didn't complain. I was still in my 20s. I should have known better. That's why I tell my younger self, dude, speak up for yourself. But anyhow, whatever. Took it home and I said, I'm going to make this clone work for me. It was White Shark. And I babied that clone. I got as many as I could. And I grew it Sea of Green style, which is buds, for, a couple of years. That was the most amazing weed to this day that I've ever smoked. Just perfect, like clay, just sticky and just the craziest herb. And after that, I got a hold of this other stuff from our niece and her husband, who had a couple different strains, and we started trading clones. And then I started growing the Trainwreck, and then I started reading. I have the Canna Bible up here, two different copies, and one of them has Trainwreck in it. And the Trainwreck is the most versatile in all of the Canna Bibles, of all the different buds they have, even OG Kush, any of the originals. Um, Still, the Trainwreck has the most variety as far as different strains. So when somebody says they like Trainwreck, it could be anything. But yes, it tends to be very stony. However, it's very prone to spider mites, at least the ones I grew. I came home from vacation once and somebody was watching my garden, and spider mites had just completely dominated all the tops of my buds. It was the worst. Okay, Frank says, I'm planning on procuring Cubensis. Do you have any thoughts, suggestions on amount to begin on a journey? I'm wanting to get back to the 385. I don't have any personal opinions on it. I never give people dosage advice. That's completely personal. It really is. I The other day I wanted to take some. I have mushroom honey that I made, and I also have capsules. I don't like taking mushrooms in their raw form. The fact is, it digests quicker, and you have a quicker trip. You get the effects you want. It generally, if you take it ground up in capsules. Here's the thing: it's like all psychedelics. It doesn't matter how you consume them, whether it's orally, nasally, intravenously, or otherwise, sublingually. Acid, for example, will take the same amount of time to hit you. This is because of how much time it takes for these substances to hit the synapses and be able to be absorbed into these. Um, think of it like the lock and key. Serotonin fits in a particular lock, and serotonin is the key. Psilocybin, as well as LSD, are very similar to serotonin. They go into these same locks. The weird thing about LSD is that there's a door that closes over the LSD molecule, and then it gets absorbed back into the body, from what they understand. It's very unique because serotonin generally enters and leaves, and this is why it takes so long for LSD to nestle in, but also so long for it to leave. It can't just take off right away. You have to wait for it to work through its system. It's literally, and this is the weird thing, serotonin is somewhat giving you your reality. When you consume, for example, LSD, it's entering the same synapse and changing your reality. So you're literally, your brain is vibrating on a very unique level. Doesn't mean it's some, you know, hocus pocus shit, but it's very interesting when you start wondering if some of the awarenesses that you have are things that you're tapping into for real. It's a crazy experience. Hello, Lorna. Lorna says, "Hi, Josh. Spending lockdown in Scotland making babies." Lorna, it's good to see you. Lorna is, she lives in Scotland and makes these little figurines. They're like out of basically Sculpey or Fimo clay. You know, the kind you bake. I worked with Fimo for a while, and I used to make beads all the time back at dead shows and stuff. And or take him to dead shows, making hemp jewelry with Fimo beads. And the babies she makes are amazing. Lorna, you do some amazing work. If anybody's ever looking for like model babies, whether it be for dollhouses or anything like that, go to Lorna. She's got some really cool shit. Real Folk Blues says seed prices are high. Are they? I've been growing my own and just harvesting the seed. Once you buy a couple packets of seeds, you just let one or two plants every year that you grow go to seed, and just harvest them yourself. And then you end up being able to preserve that lineage. I only grow heirloom seeds if I can. um, yeah, sorry, Frank. What would your thought be getting older? I really don't know, man. I couldn't give you a dosage. I don't think it would be. I mean, here's the thing I think about psychedelics. I take myself about, I try to take an equivalent of 3 to 5 grams of cubensis. And that's only lately. However, a while back, this depends on the mushrooms. A while back, I took a gram of dried azurescens because we live on the coast here in Washington and Oregon. I live in the Columbia Gorge, which right on the mouth of it has the strongest mushrooms in the world. So an hour and a half from here, the strongest mushrooms anywhere exist, and these are the ones that can actually cause what they call wood lovers paralysis, which is where the mushrooms actually cause your um, they cause your legs to stop functioning, and you fall down on the stairs. I mean, it's people have said they just couldn't get up for like hours, a couple hours, then all of a sudden they were fine again. Nobody's ever been like paralyzed from it, but it's very scary in the moment if you're not prepared. Say you're out hanging out with friends, you take about too many azurescens, especially if you're picking them, because the Oregon coast is just loaded with them. I brought back a couple of those mushrooms years ago, um, and I threw them in a little. I took some of the mycelium from the ground with the mushroom, and then I just left it in some wood chips on my back porch, and it just, the mycelium grew like crazy. Mycelium really is the mushroom. The mushroom's just the sprout or fruiting body, right? So it grew. I ignored it. It literally sat on my back porch, dried out completely for like a year. After the summer, I took it and threw it in the ground, threw some wood chips on it, and I came out one day and there were 3 mushrooms about this tall, azurescens growing. These things are resilient. Mushrooms are like our gods. Um, they were here long before us, and they are completely unique to plants. And there's evidence that there were 10-foot mushrooms growing on the planet at one time when gravity was lighter and different atmospheric composition. And mushrooms are pretty fucking amazing. So you wonder, like, why did they evolve these psychoactive compounds? Just, it's pretty interesting stuff. It really is. Um, I really haven't taken psychedelics very often over the last few years, really, um, several years. But DB says they developed sleep paralysis after your first shroom trip. Dealt with it on and off. Shrooms caused it. That's really interesting. Actually, yeah, sleep paralysis is fascinating. I had my wife's nephew had that, and we talked about it because we went camping together. But then later on, my wife and I had all gone camping around the same area, I believe, and but I had taken some. I had really bad back pain, sciatica. It's one of the most humbling experiences in my life, and I didn't have any painkillers at the time. Kratom wasn't doing it at the moment, so my friend gave me a couple of Subutex, or I think it Subutex or Suboxone? I think it was Suboxone, which is, even though it's a opiate blocker and opiate agonist, antagonist, it's like completely for the people who take it for the right reasons because they're overcoming addiction, they can cope with taking more than I would. He told me don't take more than a quarter, so I didn't. I took less than a quarter, maybe like a fifth or a sixth of a tablet, and I was so sick one night. Or well, I worked my ass off cleaning one night, and then I was really sick after that. But anyhow, later I had one with me that I'd gotten from him, and I went camping, and my back hurt so bad from driving that I took another little sliver, and I sat in this lawn chair, and I remember the pain went away, but I was sitting there and I had sleep paralysis, but I was like, it was actually what you would call, there are terms for all of these things. There's when you're just falling asleep and when you're just waking up, hypnagogic and hypnopompic. So hypnagogic dreams are when you're just falling asleep. Hypnopompic are when you're just waking up. They are those ones where you're just on the verge and you're having these crazy experiences. But they can, for some people, if your brain wakes up before your body does, you can literally be paralyzed and be dreaming and awake at the same time. That happened to me that day camping. It was really weird looking into the woods and seeing all these weird shapes and things. But this is where a lot of hocus pocus bullshit comes from in religion about demons and being possessed, but also the succubus, the idea that a woman sits on somebody's chest and they're there to suck their soul. This is what a lot of people see when they're in these states. And the psychedelic state can put you in a very similar mindset. It's pretty weird. All right. Andre says, what's your favorite season? I like fall the most, but I love summer. Glaudy says, love you, Carpo. Love you too. The linkers are sniffing the Azzy areas quite a bit. I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means. I keep putting up the videos and live streaming. Thank you. I will. Oh, you'll get slumped on subs from Evan. What do you mean, Evan? I don't know what that means. Run for president. Fuck that. I have no desire to be president, man. DB says I've seen amazing and horrifying things during sleep paralysis. Yeah, I believe it. Where do you find them succubuses? Yeah, they can be everywhere, my friend. The succubus is waiting for you. Demonology, right? No, I've been through a lot of occult studies, a lot of research into dreaming and dream journals that I've had, and all my recordings I have. 2 nights ago, I had my voice recorder out recording this crazy dream about a lightning storm that I was running from, and there was a huge boom and a thunderbolt, and I saw a flash, and then all the houses, all the power blew, and I saw all the rooftops. It was like this weird kind of dim light, and smoke was rising off the top of the chimneys and the houses where I could see all the lights blow out in every house. And I thought, this sucks. I usually have weird dreams about festivals and, you know, I have a lot of dreams about my school bus, but I've been having more dreams about apocalypses, and it kind of sucks. It's a weird time to live in. Hmm. So how long have I been on here? 45 minutes or so? That's not bad. I'm doing all right. It probably would have taken me about an hour to do the podcast, so I figured I'd just do an hour long live cast instead. And I really appreciate all of my viewers, all of my patrons, the people who have donated, and not just money, but their thoughts and their ideas. The people who have taken the time to send me emails, as I was saying earlier, about uh, making a documentary about last year, and I have several subscribers who have sent me their art and their ideas, and I keep those in a separate folder. I've been very much more organized. It's part of my 2021 resolution to be more organized with all my shit, and that includes folders and files and videos. So, what do you think about Dante's Inferno? I don't know. I have not read that one yet, actually. Dying Light says they had a dream they were spraying gas all over. Dreams are insane sometimes. Amen, my friend. Um, okay, what's up? We'll never be a cog in the system, my friend. He said, did you stop smoking weed for good, or did I mishear last time? I think I'm going to stop with the beer. Father had liver cirrhosis, saw him turn yellow. I think that this is a very personal subject, and I'm going to mention this one more time for those who may not have been here when I said it before. On my Discord channel, which is in the description, I set up an honest drug talks uh, group so people can come and comment, and you can send personal messages, things like that. It's just better than email, I think, and I don't use Facebook or anything like that. But about a lot of people have alcoholism and alcohol problems with themselves or in their lives or people they know. Now, my father, I remember he would drink Corona or maybe a Budweiser rarely, but rarely. My dad did not drink. My uncle, he drank Budweiser all the time. I don't know how much of an alcoholic he really was. Um, my brother, he kind of is similar, to my uncle, right? Just drinking, and then I thought, well, like a 6 pack a day, that seems like a lot. Then I started drinking, and I started drinking Jägermeister a few years back because it was right after I laughed at somebody that I was at a Burning Man event with. It was called Soak, our regional Burning Man, and I said, you know, this guy brings out Jaeger, and he looked like the ultimate 80s Jaeger guy. I was like, oh my God, you drink that? And then I was like, this is not bad. And from then on, for some reason, I started drinking that. Then I moved on to beer, other things. And now I've been questioning myself, and this year I've decided on a 2-2-2 rule. And a lot of people, I guess I can lay this out in more detail on the drugs talk. So join the group if you want to hear more about this one because it's just too long. But like 2 teaspoons of kratom a day, or 2 doses of kratom a day, 2 beers a day, or 2 drinks a day, right? Um, 2 full bowls of cannabis a day, that kind of stuff. To some people, they're already thinking, holy shit, this guy smokes a lot of weed, drinks, and parties. Really, it's not that much compared to what I'm used to in my life. It's all perspective. And I don't know. I don't know what people think of what I consume. I really never want to be known as a person who is too high to vocalize what I have to say. It's awkward. So I don't get wasted. I don't drink to get drunk. I don't smoke pot to get high as the kite. I don't escape my reality. I'm usually in control of myself, I guess is my point. So I'm going to go through the comments again. Frank says, I'll send you the book if you have a P.O. box. I don't have a P.O. box, but I have an address I could, yeah, it's on my website, the Carpos Botanicals website. It's, yeah, 12306 Southeast 1st Street, Vancouver, Washington, 98684. Giving out my address on live. The thing is, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows. It's like some people are so insecure about, like, they're afraid that of giving out their home address, but nothing is hidden anymore. Everybody's known. You look up your own name on Google, and here comes up your house and like everybody you live with. It's a weird world. I don't know. Okay, Evan Ramirez says, "What are your thoughts on Jung's archetypes?" Oh boy, says I'm not convinced these with the supernatural in my opinion, but these archetypes seem to resonate and are interesting. I am completely with you. um, I'm not going to go into detail. As I said, I was supposed to be doing a podcast tonight, but it fell through because the guys were tired, and I mistaken the time of when I was supposed to be on. I guess it was my fault or a miscommunication. Maybe I feel stupid, but anyway, one of the things they asked was about who has been the biggest influence in your life, you know, and I thought about that a lot. I thought, of course, you want to say your parents, and um, but that's for different reasons. For my educational knowledge, it was Manly P. Hall. And he is only because he's the most educated dude. It would be like Alan Watts and Manly P. Hall. Can you imagine those guys hanging out in a room together? Oh my God. Completely different people. But Alan Watts, I respect for his having fun with life. Manly P. Hall for his vast amount of knowledge. But he talked a lot about archetypes, and he's the one I really learned them from. So I haven't directly read a lot of Jung's work, but I have, I guess, through other channels, learned a lot about the meaning behind his work and what he was intending to express. And Carl Jung was a pretty smart guy, but I think I can roll my eyes at some of his stuff. But the archetypes are there. They're real. They are, you know, the. Let me say, forget Jung and go right to Joseph Campbell. If you want to learn about archetypes, he's the ultimate source for archetypes. He talks about the hero's journey and how that relates to every human and really puts it in perspective. Joseph Campbell is probably one of the coolest fucking dudes. I should definitely write that one down on my list of my heroes because that guy he's smart as hell. He died, but he was smart. Hello, Gyrus. He says, life is weird, friend. Ooh. I idle at one bowl a day. You idle at two. But like an oak tree, I'm built like a mini fridge. Yeah, I'm 6'3", so I'm an oak tree. Daniel says, my vape is low on battery. That happens. I filled it up before I started. DB has to ask me, what do you think of Trump being banned from Twitter? If I answer this question, promise that people aren't going to make this political or start harassing me about my political beliefs. I don't like Trump. Everybody knows that. But I have mixed feelings on censorship. I have mixed feelings on Twitter. But here's the thing. A lot of people firmly believe that he was inciting violence through his tweets. And from what I saw, it seemed that was occurring. In my opinion, from the tweets that I watched, and I did follow his Twitter account, I looked at it every couple days to make sure that I knew what the president was saying. people might, some people think, well, why even pay attention? I didn't listen to his Twitter. I'm like, well, look, the president himself bragged that Twitter was the way he communicated, and that was his platform. Everybody who really wanted to know what the president thought should always have been watching his Twitter, in my opinion. So the fact that they banned him after all the bullshit he'd been talking lately made sense. But I realize the slippery slope of free speech. If you start fucking with people's accounts and cutting them off now, like, I have mixed feelings about the impeachment hearings. Even though I think the guy deserves it, I say bad timing, because it's only going to divide people further. Listen, I know that free speech rules are complicated, but I've really tried to compare it to, you can't go into a place of business and start screaming fuck you to all the people there. So when somebody's being abusive, they get kicked out of the mall or anywhere else. Even though it's a public place, somewhat, it's still privately owned. And that's the same with Twitter or anywhere. A lot of people are arguing that it is free speech, but also that Twitter is like a public utility because so many people use it. And I would like to say that's the same mentality as saying that since everybody uses oil, we get to decide the prices. I mean, it's a complicated thing. The tech industry really is biased. There's not a lot you can legally do about it if you're truly an American and you truly support democracy and equality, but also freedom of business to do what it wants. If Jack Dorsey or anybody else wants to have their own rules, they can. There's nobody can stop that. But look back to 1998, 99, 2000. What were the first things to really come on the internet that became important? Moderators. And a lot of people thought they were getting censored, but people generally started to accept that moderators were part of the internet because they were sick of what other people were saying, incendiary things, cussing at people and calling their moms fuckers and, just saying stupid things to get attention. And so I remember on some of the early Kratom forums, like 11 years ago, like the Kratom forum, which I used to be a very active member of until I realized that they were sponsored by certain vendors and it turned into a nightmare. But the internet's a weird place, So that was the long answer. The short answer to your question is, I'm glad the president was banned from Twitter. He has the media at his beck and call. He can say, I want to do a press conference. He can walk out and everybody will be begging to film what he has to say. So he's never lost a voice in that way. As for what I think about the purge, the fact that Amazon dropped Parler, which would be the next question, it's a very complicated thing, and I honestly think that one is a problem. If service providers are cutting off service to people because they don't like what they say, that's different. Internet service providers should be neutral. So, hope that answers your question in a long way. All he asked was Trump being banned from Twitter, so. All right. Okay, we'll never be a cog in the system, says my pops used to keep a gallon of wine under his car seat. Oh, shit. One vacation wasted. He said he wanted to crash in the wall and kill us all? Oh, fuck, dude. That ain't cool. Sorry, I laughed. Said I had stints with liquor, drink 6-pack. Man. Well, fuck. That's some crazy shit right there, my friend. Dying Light says China owns a lot of expensive property in every big city. True that. Of course they do. They ain't wasting their time. Doesn't mean I agree with them, though. Okay, then they say, where are we at? Social media is US-based. Sounds like a recipe for disaster for Twitter. Politics. Damn it, Daniel. I love you, bro, but you're commenting so much, I can't separate. As a brother, dude, I can't separate your comments from the others. Warm me up, twatter. Slippery slope. Yes, you're correct. Dying Light says gun rights is a human right. Well, I'm only going to say this. Did you know that in the 1800s in the West here, when you walked into town, in most towns, you had to turn your guns over to the basically the sheriff or the place where you were going, the bartender, whoever it might be. And that was one of the things that I think we've kind of lost. We deserve the right to bear arms, but we don't necessarily need to wear camouflage and have multiple magazines hanging out of them with AK-47s off of each shoulder. So finding that balance, I think, is crucial. It really is. So gun rights may be a human right. I mean, I think having a revolver is a great thing, and maybe a shotgun, perhaps a rifle, if that works for you. And being able to protect yourself is crucial. But I don't think gun rights is necessarily a human right, um, unless you're living in a place where all the other humans agree with the gun rights you agree with, if that makes sense. Hello, milligrams mile. Says good point with the moderators. Never thought about how important they are. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the forum moderators have been a huge part of the internet from the beginning, and I know, a lot of people have never used a lot of forums. There's a lot of internet users who are just Google junkies. That's all they do. They just search out shit, and they never really have looked in and joined a group, signed up, entered their email, or not many, and really stuck with the group and got to know people. This is why Discord is great for me. I really have had a good time with that one because I hate Facebook. I don't want to use any of these big time other bullshit platforms, and I don't like some of the people who join certain ones. But anyhow, yeah, that's forum. Having moderators is what keeps the forum free from trolls, advertisers, scam artists, things like that. And we really take it for granted. So James Knight, hello, my friend. He says I take kratom because of your testimony, but now I can't buy it from you. Okay, let me tell you this, James. I wasn't sure if I was going to do this or not, but I've had a hard time obtaining kratom at the price I want and the quality I want. I've talked to a lot of people, even folks who have sworn that they have the best stuff. I've tried it out. Sometimes it's good, then the next batch sucks. I know my vendor tests his product. I'm getting ready to email him and his people and say, look, what can I get in a bulk discount? Last time I checked, there was some crushed leaf as well, which is really good for tea. But I'm going to order at least several kilos of each kind of the best I can. Invest as much as I can. Honestly, it costs me a lot. If you buy the cheap kratom that most people are selling on the market, it's like dirt cheap in bulk, like 20 bucks a kilo or less. And people will just sell it all day long for 20 times that. It's like unbelievable. But for me, it was always buying it for 10 times what I would get overseas because I got it slightly better. And I've had a hard time justifying that. I'm going to start over. And, I thought this is what I've always enjoyed doing. I might as well keep it up. So I will try selling kratom again soon. That's my point. Guns are wild in the UK, Daniel, huh? Well, to to speak a little bit before I go. I've been on here an hour, and I'll probably stick around about another 15 minutes or so. I think that being being a human in today's world is probably, well, not probably, but definitely much more complicated than it was in the past. The way that we treat one another is at times it can seem very disrespectful. It can seem like we don't care about one another, that we're causing problems to, I don't know, let me think of how to word this. It seems like we're doomed. And what I found after my own cognitive dissonance and research into why things are the way they are, I've come to the conclusion that we're doing okay and we could be a lot worse off. I've thought a lot about how bad the past really was, how bad the kings, for you, Daniel, in the UK. I mean, so many of the, past kings, like Henry VIII, slime balls, cutting off everybody's head that didn't agree with them. And how today we actually you have parliament. People make fun of the politics in Europe and in the US, but don't realize how far we've come. Think about it. Places like China and North Korea, they point the finger and say, look at how horrible America is because of what's happened at their capital. Look at what's happened to the people. They don't realize that this is part of growth. Keeping people happy is what's important. I'm not saying that we're going to come out of this, golden, but um, you can't just be a communist nation and have that as the alternative. It's absurd. And I think that, if if anybody wants to talk politics at the end here, I'd be more than happy to. So if you have any political questions in the next 10 minutes, throw them out there because I don't like to talk about what's going on, but I mean, my nation is under siege. I mean, holy shit, Washington D.C. The amount of tax dollars they're wasting. They're locking down the entire fucking city. They've got the roads lined with these posts. They're literally bolting into the streets and building these giant fences. It's nuts. And I'm sitting here thinking, we're paying for this. And supposedly there's a threat of insurgency in our country. What does this really mean? Oh, it's just another excuse for them to clamp down on gun laws or anything else. So for those of you who are First Amendment or Second Amendment supporters, freedom of speech is important, but if you want to get your guns taken, the best way to do it is to raid the Capitol, right? And I think what happened on the 6th of January this year was a travesty. And I don't think that it was crazy because when I step back and look at it from a real perspective as an adult, as a balanced human, I said, holy shit, this is unprecedented, but it's something I've always thought it needs to happen. But I didn't see people marching in unison with a list of demands. I saw people running wild from every direction and causing chaos. There are ways to get your point across. With the day and age we live in, with the internet, with all the information we have at our fingertips, all the communication we had, all the way people could organize this, which they did, they failed to remember one main point, which is if you're going to carry pitchforks and torches, you better damn well have a list of demands in hand. And instead of demands that would change this country, I believe that these people just wanted to change the election, which they should have known better. You can't. I mean, I know a lot of people feel very strongly about this, but my personal opinion, and don't get mad at me. Whoops. God damn this stand. Um, Fair and square, the election was lost. I mean, we had 88 judges in several different institutions and 50 states, all 50 states, look into supposed fraud. And Biden won by 5 states. I don't really care for Biden. I'm not a big fan of politics. But what's happening just because people believe their guy lost, to me is absurd. I can't imagine standing up for anybody that way. I mean, I really can't. Politics are politics. Are you going to really take up arms against your own officers and fellow humans for one president? what do you think's really going to happen with Joe Biden in office? And that's what I'm trying to understand. And I realize, as I said earlier, after reading his tweets and paying attention, that he has told people that if Biden gets into office, then this country is over. That's a dangerous thing to say. That's a political complete nonsense. All right, so I'm going to flip through the comments again. Carpo, how did you decide on the name for your bus? Patience? Oh, that's easy. When I'm driving back from the Columbia Gorge from concerts, she goes on the desert highways when it's like 100 degrees out. She goes about 15 miles an hour up some of the hills. I get passed by everybody. I've only passed like one or two trucks in the whole 3 years I've had her that were also going really slow. So she's the slowest bus I've ever had. Simon says, we only have our dry sense of humor to protect us in the UK. Oh, Simon. You are so true. The UK has the weirdest sense of humor. There's a show right now, I think it was on Hulu. It's called Horrible Histories. And I was addicted to watching it for a day. It's like, man, this is funny. Even though I haven't laughed once out loud. UK comedy is really weird. It's almost done in kind of that Monty Python type humor. But the last 3 mornings, I woke up with one of the songs in my head. Something about, what is it? We are knights. Something about we are knights. Funny ass show. You gotta watch it. That's all. I'm reading through the comments. I'm not just staring blankly. DB says, who is your favorite president in history? Oh, wow. I'm going to have to say Obama. I know people are cringing right now. Obama made a lot of mistakes. He was stuck with a really fucked up situation. George Bush left him with the war in Iraq, which was a disaster. Afghanistan. Um, there were terrorist groups taking over and filling that power vacuum. My personal research into politics, because I really wanted to care about politics and I usually don't, but for Obama, I was really wary. I have looked back on all the mistakes he made. Yes, there were more drone strikes in history, but also there were more drones than ever in history. Um, some of the things that Obama did to protect the environment meant the most to me. And the only reason I say Obama is because that's the only president in my lifetime that I have known well enough to make a judgment on. I didn't care for George Bush. I think fucking both the Clintons are just sneaky snakes, just like the Trumps. And I'm sure that one of the other Trumps will win in 4 years or 8 years or 12 years, right? I mean, this is the way the world works. We live in an oligarchy, right? Or a corporatocracy. And so people want to vote for familiarity instead of the new thing. So voting for the first black president or half black president, whatever, it doesn't matter. People were so judgmental. I remember the whole time Obama was president, everybody was harping on him for being black, but not really saying it, beating around the bush. I remember somebody in my own family that I know saying that they believed that Michelle Obama could be a man because of all the bullshit conspiracies going around. And anyway, that's the answer to your question. I think Obama was the greatest president recently, at least in my lifetime. Um, Daniel says, "What do you think will happen when the Queen dies?" Honestly, Daniel, I don't think anything will happen over here, because honestly, I think queens are stupid. I'm just joking. I know that the Queen is like the symbol of that of your nation, and but it's always been weird to me. I don't know why a queen deserves their title. They haven't explained to me why they own it or why they should deserve it. Next reptile in line inherits the world, says Simon. You don't believe in reptilians, do you? Come on. Okay, empire building. Yes, Simon, I agree. It really is about empire building. The thing is, all empires collapse. I posted something earlier and it said like democracy is fragile, and I discussed it with this one of my subscribers, the American. He was saying how, he said it's fragile, but you know it falls apart when um, basically every empire fails. And I was saying that even though something's a democracy, that's not the same as an empire. Empires can fail, but democracies don't necessarily have to. And whenever I have discussions like that, it gets me thinking. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's right. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's another side to this. Okay, yes, there is a separation between a democracy and an empire, and how can we distinguish the two? Like, can we fail as a country, as a superpower, and still retain our democratic roots? I mean, it's gotten so bad that people are claiming that no, it's Republican roots. I'm like, it doesn't, democracy just means that people vote for what they want. I don't know why it's become so divided, but Frank asks, any new upgrades to patients, the Carpo? I'd like to get a sort of bus thing to live out on full time. I love my bus. I was just out there. I was going to do a live cast out there, but I decided not to. But no, no updates to patients recently, except let's see, what did I do? Nope, nothing new. Same old bus, same old bus. Dying Light says, I think it was a setup. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Specify. Are you talking about the Capitol or something else? I don't believe in really setups in that case, but where are we at here? Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Democracy is always doomed, says. Oh, come on, 2020. You really believe that? I mean, you really. Okay, let's define democracy. God damn it. I can't use my phone to look it up. Y'all can look it up for me, but a democracy for me is basically a people controlled country, right? And if the people don't know better, then we have people vote for us. This is the basic short explanation for the Electoral College, which I despise, but I've started to understand. Like, it's you have to trust that the system is completely fucked, but at the same time, there are people looking out for us. And when something's wrong, people point it out heavily. So I've had an issue with the Electoral College for a long time because I believe that the most people, if 51% of the people vote for a president, for example, does that mean that that president should be the president? It didn't happen with Clinton. It doesn't matter really at this point. I'm fortunately grateful that Trump won instead of Clinton. That honestly, I think, was the most important thing that could happen for this country because I think we needed to change courses. We needed to see what was coming. It was like testing a new dish. You know what I mean? And here we are, right? Dying Light says, how long till money disappears? And everything is Bitcoin based currency. I sure hope not. He says, if not, explain why not. Put it this way, Bitcoin doubled over a week or so, and then now it's dropping again. Anything that is volatile, in my opinion, is not legitimate currency. Now, I have bought a couple silver bars, small ones, and coins, right? Silver, when I bought it, was 15.50. It went all the way up to 45 gradually with gas prices. Then it went back down. It was down to like 10 last year. Now it's back up to like 25. I wish I would have bought it when it was low. But silver loses its value too, and it goes up and down. The difference is that if the power goes out, Bitcoin's gone. You still have your silver. And I really believe in having something physical to hold on to. So Bitcoin, perhaps, if it was in actual Bitcoins, but not if it's in a digital currency. Um, I'm just suspicious about, yeah, technology. Dying Light says capital attack, sorry. Yeah. I think it was a complicated issue, that's all. Very complicated issue. Can embrace moral standards. I don't think he can embrace moral standards. See, I'm confused now. Try to read the comments and understand what people mean. It's 4:20 and 40 minutes, says Daniel. You're up too late, Daniel. Are you partying too hard, bro? You having fun? Are you rolling good? I have a, yeah. Eventually, I'll roll again. It's been a long time. Bitcoin can only buy drugs, says Daniel. Um, well, it can actually buy a lot more than that. I signed up for it because we had to buy concert tickets for an event. What was it that we bought tickets to? I think it was when we went to the Eclipse Festival. Yeah, they had a festival here. It was crazy. It was the, what was it called? Symbiosis. Huge music festival. They had it here in a weird place. They'd never had any shows there. They had to actually bulldoze the whole area in the desert and like put roads in there, and like it was a nightmare. It took us 14 hours to get in the fucking gates. We were so exhausted. We had the kids with us. It was a nightmare. If I'd had the bus, it would have been great, but no, it sucked. It really sucked. But anyway, um, yeah, I don't know what the point of that was, but it was fun. That's the big lie. What's the big lie? If y'all, oh, the elite class sold out to the plebs. I think most of the key to it is reading the opposite meaning to the definitions given. A lot of businesses are accepting Bitcoin. That's correct. Does gold still have value? Yes, gold is increasing quickly. Isn't a bit what you put into a horse's mouth to control it? It is. Symbiosis. Do they hold symbiosis every year? Yes, they did. Not recently, but yeah. And the next eclipse one, I think, is in 2024. And I think there's another one in the next year or two. It's like a half eclipse here in the U.S. But hey, if y'all want to go to Symbiosis next time it comes to the U.S., we'll definitely have to meet up. I think it'd be really cool to have a crew of people that, you know, I don't know. It'd be really cool. It'd be really cool to meet a whole bunch of people in one place and just party out. So the world we live in is basically, I don't know, chaos right now. So I found this whole stack of paper that I was going to read one. If you give me a thumbs up, then I'll read one of these poems. This is actually a song I wrote not too long ago. Hmm. Some of these, this one's called Sun Rain Thing, and I wrote it like 20 years ago. No shit. I'll read that one first. What does it say? 1997, I think. It says, sunlight coming in my window. I'm too blind to see. Raindrops falling on my doorstep. Such a mystery. I can never seem to find a place where I can rest. So much shit is going on. I put my patience to the test. And then there's the chorus. It says, why can I not be myself anywhere I go? People need to let their spirit flow. Everyone I see today seems to look so funny. No one seems to let their true side show. And then the second verse goes, now I found myself at last, but lost myself again. Should I sit down and watch the sun or go out in the rain? Everything just looks so good, I don't know what to do. So I'll just keep on sitting here until the sky's blue. But here's the one I wanted to read. You and I are the ones who suffer. People get bolder and the laws get tougher. And the older that we get, the more we seem to regret when we don't speak up about the tyranny we see. We're only as free as we allow ourselves to be. And these bullshit drug laws are holding us down. Look around, they haven't worked, only made things worse. It's a curse of human arrogance to put the past first. Society is changing, rearranging on a level we can only hope to grasp in time to ride the wave before we find ourselves confined to a world of our making. Keep on trying, keep on fighting, world's here for our taking. You can't fix dumb, or so they say. Prohibition hasn't worked at any time, in any way. Keep on fighting for the right to be you. We're stronger together, and you know that's true. Yeah, I guess that one was about drug laws. Anyhow, wow. I just found this whole pile of songs that I wrote a long time ago, and this year my intention is to finish this fucking album I've been wanting to make for a long time. So I'm hoping to actually do it. So I'm about to go. Just flipping through the last of the comments here. Symbiosis sounds awesome, he says. Yeah, it was awesome once you got in there. The truth is, we had two kids with us. They were like 5 and 8, and we did not, or like, 6 and 9, whatever. We did not have the family camping. We wanted to camp with the rest of the people. It was dusty as hell and horribly coordinated. And we honestly did not get to see any of the concerts we wanted to see. But I still had fun. Let me just tell you this. We were there for the Eclipse. This wasn't just a regular Symbiosis. This was the Eclipse Festival. And it was down by Salem, south of Salem or something. And when we finally got in there, and we got to this huge shelter and tent area they'd made for the Eclipse. Everybody met over there across the bridge, and we all watched it together with the glasses, and I had my camera set up. And the feeling that I got when that sun was fully eclipsed, I haven't felt anything like that since, or even before. I mean, it's different. People, of course, I have experiences, my wedding, my children's birth, things like that, but it's just not the same as an eclipse. I mean, it's a mind-blowing event. Everything falls silent. It's really amazing. So that was the main reason we went, and I really loved it. Andre says, split the country. Well, I would take Cascadia if I was offered it. If I had a vote to Cascadia, which is basically the Northwest as its own area, I would accept it. I would be totally down with that. We've got amazing ports up here in Seattle and Portland. Portland. I mean, think about it. We have everything we need here to survive without the federal government, and I'd be more than happy to, take care of ourselves. We can set up our own military and everything. I feel like the federal government just squanders our funds, so it's kind of pointless to, keep supporting a full country like that. DB says, can I be on the album, Carpo? I can play the guitar and have a good microphone. My oldest son would kill me if I let you be on the album. No, I'm kidding, but he's 26. My son is such an amazing guitarist, and I was like telling him he could do my I want him to do some of the background, stuff for my videos and whatnot, but also want to play some music and record an album with him. I think it'd be great. But if you want to record, you're welcome to send me some of your shit and fucking If you want to, maybe we could work something out, play a song together. I don't know. We'll see. Teaspoon of Sugar says, should I listen to my wife? My answer would be yes. If you want to be happy. Yeah. Andre says, what's childbirth like? You've been born too. It's nuts. It's nuts. Watching a kid be born, I'm not going to go into my personal here, but yeah, we had to we had complications and we had to have a C-section both times, and it was scary the second time, but the first time we kind of planned it. Um, it was a surreal experience watching a baby come out, especially when a baby comes out of a tummy, an incision that's cut in your wife's tummy. It is the weirdest experience you'll ever have. You think it's weird watching a child be born naturally? Most the doctors told me both times, they're like, "Oh, you don't have to watch this part. They have a whole shield set up and everything." I'm like, "No, no. I had my camera in hand and I filmed the birth. I was like, I'm totally down with this. I have no problem with it at all." Too bad they didn't have GoPros back then. No, I'm kidding. Put a GoPro in the womb, right? No, childbirth is really nuts. It's an insane experience, and it's beautiful, and I really, really loved it. Frank says he enjoyed the eclipse uploaded. That's right, I did upload a video of the eclipse, didn't I? I totally forgot about that. James says, how about the new drug laws? Are you comfortable with meth heads walking down the street? Well, meth heads were already walking down the street. Now they, at least when they decide to get clean, they won't have to worry about spending all their money on prison charges and the bullshit drug laws that have been imposed upon them that only line the pockets of officials. Surely you understand that. I'm sensing a little sarcasm in this, but obviously the people were smart enough to vote on the law because they realized the incompetence of throwing people in jail for these things. So you're welcome to explain yourself further if you want. I don't know what you mean though. Andre says meth heads already were. Thank you, Andre. I mean, what kind of a question is that? Like, the thing is, legalization of drugs doesn't necessarily mean that the government has them just out on a platter for anybody who wants them. You still have to get the drugs, and I think the Oregon drug laws are fantastic. I live in Washington, so we don't have the same laws up here, but it's right across the bridge from Portland. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, I don't know. Shujiko says you should see TikTok, Carpo. Everyone on there thinks they are woke for hating the law. Um, which law do you mean? Are you talking about the law that we're just talking about as far as drugs, or just the law in general? Um, there, yeah, I'm not sure exactly which one you mean there, but um, I wouldn't be surprised that TikTok has a lot of little clicks, things like that. Daniel, I can get any drug. So what? You don't need drugs, man. The truth is, when I come out to make a video like this, it's funny. I don't know. I have my own balance of, maybe taking a couple teaspoons of kratom and smoking a bowl, but I don't smoke too much. I'm very cautious about how much I consume, but um, I mean, I live in Portland. I can get any drug I want to. It's not that big of a deal. Something I think I don't even want to brag about. It's like something that it's almost embarrassing. That's one of the weird things. Drugs have always been available, and I guess that's the point to James out there, if you're still there. Um, Meth heads have been walking down the street from the very beginning of time. There were cavemen meth heads, and back 50,000 years ago, when Og and Blog, I think they got back together. I don't know. I think it was Og and Glog. got together and made the first batch of meth. Um, they ooh, ooh, we snort. And it was the most beautiful crystal they'd ever experienced. However, then they all just destroyed their village and annihilated each other and stole each other's shit. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but no, I'm not a big fan of meth. I'm really not at all. I really, really don't like the shit. Um, Crocodile. Andre, can you get crocodile? James says, I'm sorry, I truly believe the process. Let it happen. I don't know what you mean about the process. I mean, the process is the law, and we all voted on it. I'm not sure if you mean about. It's really hard for me when I get comments that I can't understand, and I'm totally open to allowing a person to type a full sentence so I can understand where they're coming from. It's hard for me to really grasp it all, but anyway, I'm going to do my thing here. Hold on. I think it's tacky to smoke on camera. So anyhow, for the new year here on Carpo's channel, I'm going to be doing a couple things. One, I'm going to be doing interviews with random people. And if you have a Discord server, if you have a Discord channel, and you would like to be interviewed or have a live discussion, all you have to do is come to my Discord page, which is 15-minute free thinking. And I have a voice channel on there that's for 15-minute free thinking podcast, where I can interview you, and it can be anonymous or not, and you're welcome to share your story. And the reason I say this is because it's one of the things I really want to do with my channel is share other people's stories. It feels so good to be able to tell your story, and a lot of people don't. And it's almost like unloading your thoughts to the world. You know, you may not get the feedback you like, which is almost more beautiful if you're anonymous if you want to be, and that's fine too. And also, the second thing I want to do is more nature videos. I have a GoPro now, and I'm really excited to be able to upload some of the shit that I can do with that thing. I built a necklace last night for my GoPro out of leather. My wife gave me a whole bunch of leather scraps for Christmas. She got from like Craigslist or something, and it's like a big bag of leather, black leather scraps. And I made a pouch, and then I was like, I could make a GoPro thing with, and I hooked Velcro on it and everything, and it's just basically like a necklace, so I can wear it around when I'm going and doing stuff. And I thought I want to do more videos with like exploration when I'm traveling, um, and then the final thing I want to do is definitely put a lot more love into my podcast. And so I hope y'all will join me on that one as well. I really do. It's fun. It's fun. Frank says, I've skated just about every park in the Portland, Vancouver area back in the day. Ha, nice. I remember when they were pouring the very first half pipe in the Burnside skate projects. And when they just built Newburgh, I went down there with my friends and we skated it, but it was really packed. That was like one of the most popular skate parks in the U.S. And I remember that Sean White, you know, he's the snowboarder. He was down there skateboarding, and we were all watching him hit the vert, you know, and we're like, "Who's this fucking kid? He's amazing." And somebody's like, "Oh, Sean White, you know, he's a really good skater." And then he got into snowboarding later, I guess, or it became more of his thing. But I'm like, this kid's like freaking 10, 11 years old, and he's ripping this half pipe up, this fucking vert on this concrete pipe like it's nothing. It's just unbelievable. Um, Loved skating back in the day. Well-being is here. Hello, well-being. How you doing, my friend? Post something. Everyone go to Discord. Yeah, Discord's pretty cool, actually. It really is. James says the new law is like Switzerland. Let's figure this out. Well, the new laws where? I mean, I was trying to follow what you were saying if you're talking about Portland or elsewhere, Oregon's laws on drugs. But yeah, things change, and we're moving forward, and I have positive outlook for the future because I have no choice. Things seem to be going better than they could be going. They, uh, I've said this several times in each video in the last like week, but looking back at what happened in ancient times, all the way from, the pharaohs, all the way through the Middle Ages into modern times, and the kind of shit we did and the way we treated each other, we're doing pretty well. And there might be two steps forward, one step back, and it's going to be okay. It really is. And we just have to take life seriously. And I don't mean in a religious way or a political way, but in a way of truly living each day with thoughtfulness. I mean, lately I've been not doing that. I'll be honest. The last like several months, it's been hard for me to even have my passions. Picking up a guitar in the morning or listening to music instead of just looking at the news, or maybe doing something else, making a video, distracting myself for a while. It's okay as long as it's productive, but I don't know. I guess that's about all I got. I'm about burned out and I'm getting ready for dinner. It's late here. As I said, this was my alternative to doing the podcast I was supposed to be doing. So I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts out, and I guess I'll be talking to you all next time. Good night, everybody. Be well. And come to Discord. Don't forget. That's where you can continue the conversation. It's a great place. Look for 15-minute free thinking. I think it's in the description. Be well.